Good morning, all, on the latest episode of the Turn It Round the Corner podcast. This is episode number 21 with a local Leigh resident, Mr. Jon Benton. John, how you doing?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. So, John is someone that I've got to know through his dad. So, when I moved to Leigh about 12 years ago, me and his dad started playing vets. Top man, top bloke, and yeah, John. So, Wednesday's your day off. Currently at Boreham Wood.
Yes, yeah. Wednesday's my day off. Quite a busy schedule. We're in Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Obviously, game on a Saturday. So yeah, get to have a nice little chill day on a Wednesday.
Well, thanks for spending that with us. So Monday night, was it 3-2 or 4-3?
Yeah, 4-3 against Hemel. Yeah, tight one. Went right down to the wire, but obviously we coming off a couple of losses, which obviously we haven't been used to recently. Been on a really good run, so it was nice to finally get the win and hopefully change things around.
Yeah. So let's scrape it all the way back. So local boy to Leigh.
Yep.
Where did you start playing football before you went into academy?
So first started when must have been 5, 6.
Yeah.
Dad was driving me to and from London 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Like Arsenal, Tottenham, all those academies, and obviously then was at Arsenal for a bit, couple of years there.
Yeah.
Didn't quite make it into the first under 9s group.
Yeah.
And then I think my dad had enough of the travelling.
Yeah, sure.
It was like Southend would do.
yeah.
Down the road. So signed for Southend at under 9s and was there for most of my life.
Yeah. And where did you start your grassroots football?
So I did before. Obviously, I was at so there was a little bit in between Arsenal, I think, and I was at Leigh Ramblers. So I was at Leigh Ramblers, and obviously that's literally the field next to my house.
Yeah,
so
sure.
It's right next door. So yeah, started there, and then obviously signed for Southend and was there.
So you started at under 9, John. Anyone else in that group that you still speak to or still knock about with now, or?
From that group, not really. I don't think from the first under 9s group. There's a few boys as we got a little bit older that obviously I still speak to every now and then. But yeah, obviously with academies, players come in, players go all the time. So,
what was that? Obviously, it was local, as you say. How did you find that as a local boy playing for sort of, Southend have been a big club over the years, a championship club, whatever. How was that growing up round here playing for sort of the only team really in miles and miles?
I feel like as a young kid playing for the local team is kind of what you're known for, sort of thing.
Yeah,
so
of course.
If suddenly I had to stop playing for Southend, then your identity kind of does go a little bit. So he was kind of known as like, it's John who plays for Southend or John the footballer. Do you know what I mean? So no, it was good. It's a massive. It's a massive club.
Yeah.
At the time, obviously, League One had some really big players in there, and it was a good club to be at. So it was definitely a good club to be signed for, and I enjoyed my time there.
Was that how would you say your academy before youth team stuff? How was your academy experience? Did you always think you would get to sign a YT, or was there difficult moments in there? What was you doing? Was it twice a week training, 3 times a week?
To be fair, mate, growing up, I was just obsessed with football. Obsessed. I mean, I would have, like you said, training Tuesday, Thursday, being fucking busy. I was there every day, an hour before. So I only lived down the road. Go there an hour before. The coaches always be there. Always going there to have a little kick about before training, and then and even on a weekend, if we had a game on the Saturday, on the Sunday, like me and all my mates from local area, we'd just go to Chase. Yeah. From 10 o'clock when it opened till 6 o'clock playing football. Yeah. So that was literally my life.
Do you think that's changed a little bit, John? Do you think the majority are not as obsessed as maybe your generation and even my generation, I would say even more so? And the groups got smaller, but the group of boys that are obsessed, then I think they've taken that to another level. Do you think?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think obviously me growing up in the years, obviously, in those years, obviously, iPhones were coming into play. Yeah. So I feel like, I didn't have my first phone until, I'd probably say 13. Yeah. And that's when you first, the base model or whatever. Yeah. But we'd always go out with my mates and stuff, and we'd always go play football and or go over the field, play football, blah, blah, blah. take our bikes, and you just don't. I feel like you don't see that a lot
No.
anymore, especially around where we live. I feel like it has changed a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like you said, the people that are obsessed, then they've taken it to a new level because obviously
being homeschooled and just getting on the ball every day.
Yeah, I think as football's developing as well, I think it's becoming harder and harder to get into those into that the elite of the elite.
Yeah.
So I feel like when people get the understanding of how hard it really is,
they
realise that you have to give everything. Like, I was very strict on myself as a kid and probably took it too far.
Yeah.
And there was even times where I was like, when you're 15, 16 and my mates are going out drinking for the first time, and I was sitting there like, I can't be doing this. Because you think, like, as a kid who wants to be a footballer so bad, you just sit there and think you don't want to be involved in these type of these. You take it to the extreme. You're like, I don't want to be involved in these people because what if it affects my chances? Do you know what I mean? And mum and dad always used to be like, don't have any regrets. He said, like, don't get to 25 at that age. I'm thinking, cool, that's old. I'm only a couple of years away. He's like, don't get to 25 and sit there and wish you did that. So with that mindset, which obviously they implemented in me, I just made sure, like, when I was in that ages, that I gave it everything and made sure that I put everything in, and then whatever happened. And then I knew that then I didn't have any regrets and stuff. Obviously, as I got older, you get a little bit more lenient and stuff, but especially at those ages where all I had was school and Xbox. And, I just wanted to give everything.
How was that? How was your mum and dad with you, John? Obviously, I only know your dad locally, but your dad locally was obviously a good player. I don't know his backstory, but like, in a way, you could tell he was a half decent footballer, right? How was your dad with you growing up?
I've always said this, and to be fair, me and my dad, it's I would say it's tough love sort of thing. So it's and I've said this to people, and
I think that's our generation, though, right?
100%. I think because my dad was young as well when I was growing up. So my mum was 20, dad was 22 when I was born. So and obviously my dad sacrificed a lot of his time growing up, taking me to up to and from London, and I think he just didn't want me to give up, and I think without him, I probably wouldn't have got as far as I did. Having someone who took me to every training session, took me to every game. I always either had him, or if he couldn't make it, there's always someone there. 95% of the time, every game, every training session, he would have been there. Yeah. And then when you got him in your ear for 15 years growing up, telling you what to do and stuff, it just pushes you that extra bit. And I feel like if I didn't have that, you just don't know.
Do you think you realised that at the time? Because as I say, about like you talking about like back and forth to London and the travel, like my boy's obviously just come out of all it, and I don't think he's still very, very young now, but I think coming out of it, he realised actually the amount of time it takes and effort to just be organised and sort your work day out so you could take you and get you there on time and get some food in the car. Like now you're sort of older and in men's football and you've played at a number of clubs. Do you now realise that the sacrifices parents give up?
100%. I think as you get older and you become an adult, you see what life really is about.
Of course.
Do you know what I mean? And I just feel like when you're a kid, you're quite innocent to everything. You feel like training is, you've got school, training, and your Xbox. That was it. You don't think about anything else.
Sure.
And obviously, as you get older, and obviously, you do appreciate it more that the sacrifices that other people do make just to give you the best opportunity to go and have a good life for yourself. Do you know what I mean? So it's definitely definitely very grateful for that. And like I said, if I didn't have that, you just don't know. You don't know where.
Because as you say, I don't think people. As you said, you made a good point that people don't realise what it takes. But I think sometimes as well, parents don't realise that academy journey or life until you're in it. Like you don't realise that it does take over, right? It takes over your week because you're in 2 or 3 times a week. You could be anywhere at the weekend, and I think everyone now wants to get there, but then I don't think once you get you realise kind of, especially if you've got other siblings as well, like you got your brothers and other people in your family, like it takes over. And I don't think people realise the sacrifices that parents put in. So you're going through the age groups at Southend, John. Is there any point in that sort of under 9 to under 16 journey where you think this is not going to happen, or was there always, I think this is, I'm going to be able to get through to my YTS?
No, I think through under 9s to under 12s.
Yeah.
Obviously you're very young, and we used to go on tours a lot, which I know has changed a lot now. And tours for me was one of the standout things I did as a kid. That's one thing I remember.
Yeah.
You can't get away with that now. I feel like, the first one I went on, I was 9 years old.
Yeah.
And we stayed.
Where'd you go, John?
We went to Germany.
Right.
And we
stayed with family.
We stayed with a German family. Yeah. There was another team in the tournament, and we stayed with them in their house.
Yeah.
They couldn't even speak the same language.
Yeah.
And you're just sitting there living with them.
I remember
but
days,
you couldn't get away with that now.
Yeah.
But I look back and I sit there and I remember I was with a boy called Callum, and we had one bedroom.
Yeah.
The other kid was in the other bedroom with his sister, and we were just in this random house. Never met her. My parents never met their parents.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's just like you think back now, and I'm like, you just couldn't get away with that now.
Nah.
No, there's other ones that obviously there's other ones where like you had like we had a little minibus.
Yeah.
Little minibus to take us all like 22-hour journey to Berlin.
Yeah.
And
but those are the things that you remember, right? And you still talk, like if you're in contact with any of them boys now, that's what you talk about. Like, we do.
No, I see Steve King, right, who used to be a South coach at Southend.
Yeah.
And he see him in the gym the other day, and it's the first time I've seen him in years. And he was the under 16s coach, and he was a couple of years older than me. And we was having a little catch up, and we was talking about the tours, and we just sat there for half hour talking about them, just how good they were, like the experiences you got as a kid, and we was just having a laugh and joke about. You could get away with it now.
No,
but
thinking about it now, like
it is mad.
I explain it to Bert sometimes, and he's like, "What, you just used to go with a random family?" And I can still remember them giving us really bad food, and me and my mate Pikey, we actually hid it in this wicker basket. And we laughed about it for years and years, thinking, I wonder when they found that moody food. But like, and then you'd go, I don't know about the Southend boys, but like you'd go to a tournament, say, we used to go Dana Cup in Denmark, right, with Norwich, and you'd sleep in the sports hall on a roll mat with a sleeping bag, and your whole team would be in there. Yep. And I said it to Bert, and he's like, you can't do that.
I remember we'd done the exact same one, right? We had little sports mats, sleeping bag on top, and there was like I was sitting next to Enrico Barnes, one of the boys. To be fair, he was one that was in under 9s with me. Right. And I remember we were sitting there with our socks, and there was a basketball hoop. We were sitting there for hours just trying to throw our socks in the basketball. And we must have been like 10 years old.
But I think those parts of the journey is like, as you say, you remember forever, right? Like regardless of where you get to, it's like that innocence of just going to kick a ball about, and also as well, like quite privileged to go and play in tournaments representing, especially you as a local lad playing for Southend.
100%. I remember going to the tournaments, and the first thing you do when you get there, you look at the teams that are in there. Yeah. And you're just hoping you're in the same bracket as like Borussia Dortmund, Bayern Munich, because the teams that they had over there, they were immense. And just the experience, the whole setup. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it's something you just would. It's quite hard to describe the feeling. Yeah. Like turning up to this this layout of this tournament. One of them was like an indoor futsal thing. Yeah. And like you have all these kids, probably we must have been about 11 at the time. And I remember we sitting there and you just looking at this game that's going on, because everyone used to watch the games, and it'd be like a 3-minute half each. That's it, and it's just on off, and you're just watching it. And some of the players were just unbelievable, but it's hard to get your head around it, that you're in this tournament in a different country with all your mates, and it's just, but that doesn't happen anymore. No. So that's definitely up there with some of the best experiences, especially at Southend. Yeah. I think all the boys said the same thing. The tours used to go on probably 1 or 2 a year if I was lucky, and I think I did around 11 or 12.
That's great, isn't it?
Yeah, throughout my time, and it was definitely up there with.
So tours aside, though, you think there was times in that journey where there was doubt, you think, from Southend as you as a player?
I reckon it was more like under 13s, under 14s. Obviously, most of the managers I got on with, and then one manager come in, and then I was always played in midfield or like number 10. Even I played in the 4, so I was quite technically gifted, just throwing the passes. And then I got played right back, and that was just a whole different game for me at the time.
Yeah, sure.
And played there for a year, and sometimes didn't really play, but I was used to playing up most of the time. Obviously, this new manager come in, got my first taste of
The tough times.
Well, yeah, it's like, when a new manager comes in, especially in first team football,
Yeah,
you just don't know what's going to happen.
No.
Obviously, when most of the time at Southend, you knew all the managers there, and they'd kind of tell you what group they're taking over in the next year or whatever, and it was quite like a nice thing. But obviously, yeah, new one come in, didn't really know him, didn't really get on. It was the first season where I didn't really get on with a manager, and I thought, well, potentially could get released here.
Yeah.
But then stayed on, got a different manager, and then I went to the under-14s. And then played up 2 years with the 16s with Steve King, I just mentioned.
Right.
And and then obviously went through, got offered my scholarship. I think I was one of the first to get offered my scholarship. And that set me up really. I was just buzzing to get that. It's always the next step, isn't it? What you look forward to. So.
Can you remember where you was, or did you have your medal? Was that before the end of the season? Like, did you know before the end of your 16 season that you?
I got it early. And I remember. Ricky Duncan called me in for a meeting. Yeah. And I remember got a picture with him shaking his hand. I remember my mum took that. But I got it early, and obviously I had my GCSEs coming up in 6 months' time. And I just walked cigar out, take it easy. Mum weren't happy. She was like, "No, you have to get certain grades, or you ain't doing your thing." So, which set me up nicely, obviously, for going to get my degree or whatever.
Yeah,
so
I want to touch on that.
Yeah. No, it's good.
So, Jon, what was the biggest transition for you coming out of, say, under 16s and academy football into a full-time apprenticeship?
Well, I got a little bit of a sniff around, obviously, youth team level when I was 16s anyway. Once you get your scholarship, obviously, then they try and push you into that and to get a little, going as it is. But I definitely would say the biggest change is going into men's football. That's definitely the biggest, and that's the one thing that when I speak to young lads who are in that same position that I was in, the fun thing I say is just go play men's football as early as you can and just go get games, because it's just a whole different environment. Like you go from being a kid into playing with people that are 17, 18 in the youth team, to then lads who are 36
100%.
who have played X amount of games, and it's just a whole different environment. And the boys that I played with in that first game, or that first team at Great Wakering, some of them I still speak to now. Yeah. And we still speak to each other every now and then, and it stays with you.
So that first loan, Jon, so you went out to Great Wakering. What was you then? A first year, second year apprentice? Or?
I would have been second year. Yeah, it's a second year. So you always do your first year.
Yeah, in-house.
In-house. And then second year, then you can go get games and stuff.
So what league were they in at the time? Essex Senior or Roma North?
Step 4. Yeah, step 4. And
did you find it a shock?
I loved it, mate. Yeah, I thought it was good. I mean,
obviously it's local to you as well.
Yeah. I played in the 10. I remember we had, so like I said, one of the boys that I still keep in touch, Adalberto Pinto. Yeah. And good lad. And I had him behind me. Yeah. I remember first.
He's a good non-league player.
Yeah, great non-league player. And I remember the first couple of games I played there, I must have been 17, so I wasn't even 18 yet. Yeah. And I got smashed off the ball. Jumping past someone, got absolutely clattered. And I remember Pinto coming up to me and was like, so I went up and obviously went to react. Pinto grabbed me and said, don't worry about it. I got you, whatever. And I was like, okay, sweet. The fella gets the ball probably 5 minutes later. Pinto's sprinting after him, absolutely takes him out, just chops him in half. Good. And the geezer's on the floor for getting treatment. So, and that was the first. That doesn't happen in youth team games. It's very pretty football, technical game and whatever.
Possession
but that other side of you're playing for 3 points. Yeah. Otherwise, you could get relegated. There's no such thing as that in it's all pretty football. So, that loan was definitely for sure one of the highlights of that transition.
How long was you there for, Jon? So work experience loan. So you're still training. In Southend. You're just going there for game days.
Yeah, you're still training something. I think I was still doing college at the time. Yeah. And then you train. We used to train
Tuesday and Thursday nights.
It might have been once a week. I can't really remember, but I remember it was at Basildon Sporting Village in the five-a-side cages. That's what we used to. That's what we used to train. For me, I loved it. That was my game all over. And that was a good little laugh. But somehow we finished 7th, and we used to train in the cages. I tell you, was there. Craig Shipman was there as well. So that's obviously I got to know him, and it was good. It was a good experience.
So you went back second year. When did you have a conversation about a pro contract and staying on?
Would have got to got towards towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it was just the next step. Then you get, end of season, you get called in for meetings, and it's either you either get a pro or you don't. But to be fair, it wasn't a pro. We had a third year.
Oh, did you do a third year? Right.
Because I remember speaking to Ricky Duncan, and I looked in front of me, and we had loads of players at the time, especially at Southend. The way it was
I always have this conversation. You got to look 1 year below, and then
3 years above, really.
Exactly.
Because I looked above. Obviously, I had Lewis Gard, Harry Phillips, Jack Bridge, and then obviously Payne or whatever, all these players or whatever. And I think Payne had gone at the time, or he might have been. I can't remember exactly, but obviously I had those 3 players ahead of me. Plus, then you're looking at the first team, and then you've got Simon Cox, you've got all these players that are all in there, and you're just sitting there thinking, chances of me breaking, you've got to weigh it up. You got to weigh, you do back yourself, but chances are, if there's an injury, it's just going to be the next person who's oldest is going to go fill in.
Next in line.
That's just how it works in football.
Cool.
So I remember going to him and just said, looking at other options, blah blah blah, and done my SATs test and done everything to go to America. Had offers to go to America. I had it all sorted. I was going to go to Miami. They'd even flown from America to come watch me play.
Do you remember what college that was, John?
Yeah, it was Barry University in Miami. And,
I trained there at Barry.
It was a lovely.
Who was the coach? The guy that was there for ages. I need to look that up, but it's probably the same one.
I want to say his last name might have been Ali, or is it Ali something? It was Ali something. I can't really remember. But there was a few that come over. I had
a good program, Barry.
I had a few offers from. I had an offer from Princeton as well because of my SATs test. SATs, they just got into I think is it GPA? I think is what it is.
You do. Yeah, you do.
Just got into that bracket, but I wasn't going out there for the education. I was going out there obviously to get there.
So you have to do the education, right?
Of course. But also you're being from that, having that pedigree of being at Southend, in the League One setup. It obviously it's worth a lot of weight. So obviously then you get discount off. So I think it would have cost, off the top of my head, $3,000 to $5,000 a year to go out there to live, eat, train, football, everything. So it was a no-brainer. But then obviously I went in there to Ricky and he didn't like that idea. It was like, no, we see you got a pathway to the first team, blah blah blah. And obviously in my contract, I didn't know about the third year. It was kind of just like whispers because when you sign your scholarship, you think it's just the first year, second year, that's it. But obviously in there it was the third year. So then obviously he pulled that thing out of his desk and was like, here's your option for the third year, blah, 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 you're here. He said, if you do go, you can go out there and train, but you can't play matches. You're still going to be here, whatever. So then obviously he decided to stay. And obviously then went on to Averley, done all that, and then ended up playing for the first team. So everything happens for a reason, but at the time obviously was a little bit gutted.
So let's talk about that third year then, Josh. So you take effectively a third year scholar, and then when into that season did you go out on loan to Averley? So that they were in Isthmian North, weren't they? Scopes had just taken over.
Yes, Scopes just took over. I think it was around November time that went out there.
So November 21.
Yeah, and there would have been 25 games left to play.
Yeah.
So I think Scopesy got the job, and within 3 days.
Struggling. Yeah, they were struggling.
Within 3 days, then I went in there.
Yeah.
And it was I just wanted to go play games. So I was playing 23s football, and it just wasn't, it was like the boys that was breaking into the first team were in the first team.
Yeah.
And then you had 18s to fill the 23s, and then you just had like a group of players that were just in between. So obviously, I took the decision to go on loan, and that was the best decision I made.
Yeah.
Like I said, go play games. Went with Scopesy. We played 25 games. Scored 17 goals and 14 assists, or something like that.
Yeah, he was amazing that season. We had to get him up.
And then we got promoted. Yeah. And that was unreal.
So at the end of that season, obviously they've gone up. I can't remember that year. Was that year they won outright, or was that playoffs as well?
No, we won outright. Yeah.
And then
it come right down to the wire. There was 3 of us. Yeah.
And then, as I watched you quite a lot that season. Obviously, Scopes is a very good friend of mine and your dad's, and you're playing for a team that's not too far down the road. And you was obviously very, very good. So you come back at the end of that season. Did you get a couple of games yourself?
Yeah. So where we won the league.
Yeah.
Their season finished earlier than Southend season. Yeah. So then went back and spoke with the gaffer, and he said, "Yeah, you're going to be involved with us. Obviously, you've had a good season." And yeah,
what league were they in there?
It was in National League. Yeah, it was in National League, and played towards the end of the season, played a couple of games, and kind of in my mind it was like, right, just won the league.
Yeah,
it's put me in a good position for next year. Whatever I get now to the end of the season is just a bonus.
Yeah,
and just build on it for next year.
Yeah,
and then played a few games. I think it was like 2 or 3 games come on.
Yeah,
and then obviously made my debut. Probably I think it was 2 weeks after winning the league, and then
you had a little spell, didn't you, for that last few games?
Then got my first pro contract.
Yeah,
and then obviously, I was buzzing. I was like, first pro contract, just got a promotion, gonna go in next season and whatever, and just see what happens. So it was good. I was in a good place at that time. So
where was the club during this spell, John? Obviously, because Southend's gone through a lot of issues.
Yeah.
Where was, obviously they've had a lot of embargoes and everything else. So you signed a pro contract. How long was that for, John?
It would have been a 1 year option. Right. That's what I think it would have been.
Right.
Yeah. So it would have been a 1 year, and then the option. That was it. Yeah, it was a 1 year, because then the following year when they was meant to take up my option, was obviously with the embargo and stuff. They couldn't take up my options. That's when I had to leave and go play football elsewhere. Because obviously I remember speaking to the gaffer at that point, and I just said, like, I've been here my whole life. Like, I don't want to just leave when the first chance I can. I want to play. I want to play for the club. Like, it's the club that I've watched and played for from since I was 9. So, I said, like, do you have a date of when it's meant to be getting paid or whatever? And he was honest. To be fair, he was honest with me, and he was good. And he just said, like, we just don't. Like, we don't know. So obviously then I went home, made a decision. I said, obviously, like, I'll keep you in touch. Yeah. Just made a decision to leave and go play elsewhere, and just obviously let football do the talking and see what happens.
So that first year though, John, your first year as a pro, so that would be 22-23 season. Did you envisage being around the first team squad? Did you think, obviously you did end up going back out to Braintree on loan, but starting that season, did you know a loan was coming again, or did you think I got half a chance?
I did think I had a chance, but then same thing again. Obviously, when you had like players who are older, you got, obviously, I believe Lewis Gardner and Harry Phillips were still there at that time. They might, I'm not too sure, but obviously them two were the players in my position, year above, whatever. So it was almost like, didn't want to get my hopes up and think coming in there, whatever. I just went away and off season, worked hard, and come back and just whatever happens sort of thing. But then I vaguely remember, would that have been COVID year?
Yeah, it would have been.
Yeah, because I remember it might have been that season where there was bubbles. Yeah. It might have been that season. I might be getting confused in another season.
No, I think you're right.
Because when there was bubbles that season, then there was a few boys I think there was a few boys before we went back that was with the first team. But obviously, because my position was, there was a lot of people who were older than me that were really in that position. They didn't obviously necessarily need me. Yeah. So obviously, when this pre-season started, you had
first team bubble and a youth team
bubble and a youth team bubble, and I was in the youth team bubble, and I was gutted. I was like, that's just kind of killed me, because it doesn't matter what's that. That's obviously how it's going to be.
For a while.
Yeah. So I obviously wanted to go back and obviously prove myself. Didn't quite happen, and then obviously went on loan, played a few games, and obviously went on loan.
At Braintree, when you went there, John, was COVID? How was that? Was that still around COVID, or was that like it was that in and out?
From what I've memory of, I don't think it was. I feel like we was. I mean, we was training every day. We was in the clubhouse after games and stuff. So I don't think it was segregated or nothing. So
when you went to Braintree, they were Conference South.
Yep.
So were they hybrid or were they part-time?
It was Tuesday, Thursday. Yeah, we trained evenings. It was evenings.
Watched a couple of games there. Like, how would you say that loan period went for you?
Yeah, it was my first experience of playing here.
You've gone up effectively.
It was 2 leagues.
Gone up 2 leagues.
Yeah. Went up 2 leagues. I loved it. Obviously, I had Angelo Harrop there. Yeah. Really, really good manager. Got on with him really, really well. And we had a good team. Like we had good players. And
had some youngsters in there again.
Yeah, we had some youngsters. Rushy was in there. Obviously, Matt Rush, Aaron Blair. Obviously, we had Lamar Reynolds as well. Obviously, he's a little bit older, but obviously, I remember he was in there. It was a good club to be at. We enjoyed it. We played good football. We done well. We was winning games. I think they managed to scrape in the playoffs at the end of the season. Yeah. So, and I think the budget compared to other teams in that league obviously wasn't necessarily, wasn't competing with from obviously where we finished and stuff. So no, I enjoyed it. It was obviously my first sniff of that league. It was good.
And obviously, you went there in about October time. When did you stay there till a whole season?
No, I want to say it was I think January, February, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, January, February, and then
when you went back, was you in and around it or just training?
I was in and around it, but I was just in the squad. I was in the squad, and if there was
you was travelling a lot, weren't
traveling,
you?
but weren't in the squad.
Yeah.
And that was my first. I remember my first game that I come back. It was Halifax away on a Tuesday night. Oh,
yes.
And we've travelled up on the day as well.
On the day. My God. There and back in the day.
There and back on the day. I've got up there and
6 hour on the coach there and back, isn't it?
Yeah, and obviously because we haven't had there was a few young lads in that squad. He didn't want to obviously tell you the day before or whatever. So I feel like it's obviously being a gaffer's tough.
Yeah.
Having to tell someone to leave it out.
It's always going to be a 90th man anyway, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly. So you kind of praying it's not you.
Yeah.
Maybe we're walking on the pitch and it's just before thingy, and then you're just kind of hoping the gaffer don't call your name.
Yeah. Once you hear that, John,
that John, can I grab you for a minute? You're like, oh, are you sure?
Yeah.
And he was, he's just like, gonna leave you out today. But you ever need it? You just know it's coming.
Yeah,
you know it's
coming. Of course.
And I remember sitting in the stand with these Northerners in my Southend jacket, and I was like. I was proper upset. I'm gonna laugh. I was devastated. It's like your first sniff, and then you're on the you're not even in the squad. It's a long way away.
Yeah.
But it's part of football, and I feel like you do need to go through those sort of things. If your career's pretty the whole way through, there's something that's going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
That
you might not be able to deal with it.
You might exactly.
Yeah.
So obviously it was a lesson, but I'm glad it did happen because obviously. Makes it easier next time it happens. Do you know what I mean? So.
As a young lad, John, and how are the older pros around you when things like that are happening? Obviously, because football has changed, I would say it's become a more selfish sort of sport. But how are the boys around you in regards to helping you with that disappointment? What would you say?
I think it's result dependent.
Right.
I feel like if the club's in a good place. Everyone's obviously going to be in a better mood. Everyone's going to be, but obviously at that time as well. Obviously, Southend's going through their problems and stuff.
Of a mess, yeah.
I feel like people were more worried about making sure they got paid than making sure a young lad was all right, that you weren't in the squad. Do you know what I mean?
Course.
So, obviously, other teams that I've been involved in, with other players being left the squad, it's obviously been better. But obviously, I feel with the scenario the club was in, and stuff, I think that's the least of their worries.
That's a great point, actually, John. And just touch on that. I don't want to speak about it too much, but for people that don't understand, how is a football club playing for a football club when you're in that mess? Well, obviously, because there was always constant they'd be on strike, we're not going to play. There was games How is it to be a footballer during that time when you're doing all this, but come Saturday or Monday or end of the month? You're not getting paid.
Being a young lad, you don't really say a lot. You kind of you're just in the background, and you're just going off what the senior boys are saying. So you don't really know the ins and outs of it. You kind of just getting along with it. But I remember pre-season, we come back and then
was there meetings every day at this point?
Yeah, but obviously between the senior boys. Yeah. So obviously not between us, because obviously it's not like it's something you can go speak to the gaffer about, because the gaffer doesn't know.
Yeah.
So you're kind of in the dark a little bit.
Yeah.
But I remember obviously pre-season coming back, and obviously where people weren't getting paid. Then it's we're going to strike. And remember, we come back for a couple of days, and then people weren't getting paid. But then they'd pay the players, so the players are forced to come in. But then staff aren't getting paid. So there's no physio in. Then you can't do contact. And it's all at the start of the pre-season, everyone's being in a building together. No problems.
Also creates a bit of a divide, doesn't it?
It does.
If you're, as a player, getting paid, but the kit man or the physio or the chef's not getting paid, it's kind of a bit.
It is, yeah.
It's a hard spot to be in, isn't it?
No, it is. It is definitely a hard spot to be in, and obviously, with the chairman as well, it was with obviously people not getting paid, they had to pay by a certain date, or you can leave for free.
Yeah.
And obviously, that's the predicament I found myself in. Obviously, obviously with the embargo, they couldn't. It's a similar sort of thing. Yeah. But obviously, it got to the situation. A few boys did leave. From obviously from that scenario. So obviously with the
centre half left, didn't he?
Well, centre half Caspar and Chrissy Ray, I think as well. But I just remember obviously the chairman having to kind of pay his assets.
Yeah.
So they don't leave. Obviously, you don't really know. Like, you don't really know. Being a young lad, you kind of
you're just out of
you ain't getting paid.
And also as well, like, no disrespect to you, but like 18, 19, 20-year-old kid that's probably living at home, right?
Yeah.
Effectively, you would play for free in the first team for a while. Do you know what I mean?
100%.
Whereas these boys probably
they've got mortgages, mortgages.
Like, you're feeling that pressure, and it's a hard spot to be in, right? So
100%.
I can't remember, but was there a point where that they actually fought? Was there a strike where those games missed in the end?
Well, I don't think they missed any games, but it was more just at the pre-season. I think it was more just at the start of pre-season.
You hardly played any games, did you?
Well, we couldn't play any games because there was no one was registered.
Right.
You couldn't fill a squad, and you just kind of feel bad for the gaffer. Like, do you know what I mean? The gaffer's trying to build a team ready for the season to give themselves the best opportunity, and you got all this shit going on in the background, and it kind of just kills,
just derails everything,
the atmosphere. Yeah, it does. It does, and it's it was a shame really, because obviously I know that season obviously I left. Done my bit, but obviously Southend were a couple of points out of playoffs. And I do think if they did get into the playoffs, that they'd have had a really, really good chance of going up, because the way they were playing, obviously they were doing really well.
And also the town would have got behind, the city would have got behind them as well, 100%. Right? Because I think, like, going for it at the club that I support, Leighton Orient, I think that's like coming out the back of that, or like, I think it does knit teams together and it knits the fans together. I think the only difference would have been like he was still involved. Yeah. Like ours was more like everyone come together when like that ownership had gone. Yeah. Because what you find as well, I think with football clubs, is it becomes quite like a toxic relationship, because you've got the fans that want him out, you've got the fans that don't want to say nothing, you've got the fans that, you know, want him to stay. And it, as you say, then you include players and staff and their families, it just becomes a bit of a toxic environment, doesn't it? And to still do half all right and being a chance of a plus, like, massive well done to the players and the staff, really, because it's a really hard environment. So
like, I think as well with that, like, obviously being a chairman, obviously you don't. Me being a player, I don't have a clue. Nah. It's like you don't know what they go through on a daily basis, of what it's like, what's involved in running a club. So you can't really have an opinion. Yeah. Obviously, being a player, you're just dealing it from what you're hearing and what you're dealing with in your scenario. So obviously, you can't really have a proper opinion. Obviously, fans and the player or whatever, they're all going to have their opinion, because obviously how it's affecting them. But obviously, being a chairman, you don't know what it's like to run a football club, so you can't really have an opinion or whatever. Yeah. So obviously, like I said, it was a tough job for the manager at the time to, you know, to do his thing. But
when you're not training, for instance, John, and people are on strike and you're not coming in, you ain't got this. What was your sort of mindset? Was you doing your stuff away from football? Was you thinking, I need to go away and do stuff myself?
To be fair, when we was on strike, it was only for like a couple of days. So right. And it was like. It wasn't for long, right? Obviously, because it was the end of pre-season, it was just the start as well. You was fit, ready to go anyway, so you were just ticking over, and you'd still come in if you wanted to come in and stuff. It was kind of just, it was just obviously in that period where it got resolved quickly. Sure. It got resolved quickly. I just think obviously, like you said, you can't. It's hard to have an opinion when you don't know what's happening behind the scenes of the club.
And also, you just can't plan for nothing because you don't know what's going to happen day to day, right?
Then, like you said though, like, you know, most young lads, and especially myself, you would have played for free. Like you would have to get a chance to go play. Like if you would have said to me, you'd go play 30 plus games in National League, but you'd have to play the season for free. Yeah. Like at a young lad, you'd take it.
Yeah, of course you would. Because, especially if you're living at home with your mum and dad, you've got no outgoing.
But like, it's this thing. It's like, money aside, it's like that opportunity is worth its weight anyway. Like, you know, that opportunity to go play for, you know, your team that you've grown up for.
The money bit of John Moore made the point, like, you're not saddled with anything. You haven't got a mortgage. No, like if you asked a 27-year-old experienced pro, they're not going to do that.
No, of course not. Responsibilities change.
Exactly.
And you've obviously got, you know, you've got other things to pay for. Exactly. But like I said, And I remember having a conversation with my dad, and I said, listen, I'll pay for free. And, you know, if I knew, if you guarantee, obviously it's different. If you guarantee to get the games, you get that exposure, you do well.
Of course you do.
Next move, obviously, as well.
As you say, you'll benefit from that further down the line. Exactly. So you come to the end of that season, and so talk me through. There was an option, but obviously due to embargo, you just couldn't. Because I remember, like, locally, like, speaking to you a little bit and your dad, and obviously seeing it in the paper, it was like something that obviously you would have wanted to stay, right? You're a Southend boy, but ultimately weren't in your hands, was it?
That's the thing as well. And I remember obviously when it happened, a few of the fans were like, "Our first opportunity to jump ship," like they do it, but people don't know the full obviously story. So yeah, getting that when you can't play in the games and stuff, and then you're asking the question like, "Are you actually registered?" You don't know. Like there was no like, it's a bit like massive grey area. And I remember at the time changing agents. And speaking to my new agent, and obviously he told me like, yeah, you won't registered. And I remember I went into the FA getting like my whatever and getting if I was registered, and they come back saying I wasn't. And obviously then ultimately I had to make the decision whether or not I
was you training at this point, John, or was this during the summer when you're just like?
Oh, this is when I was training. I'd done 3 weeks of pre-season, like didn't get paid just to because you don't know what's going on.
Of course.
Of course. But at the end of the day though, like. I was still going in, training, keeping fit, and the way I looked at it was like, well, then this is going to benefit me when I go to another club anyway. So that wasn't a problem. And obviously, made the decision to leave, and then made the decision to go back to Aveley.
Yeah.
And
what was that decision? Because John, I remember obviously that the season before, so they'd got into the Ryman Prem, Isthmian Prem, whatever you want to call it, and got up through the playoffs. I remember seeing you and Charlie Kelman at the Canvey game, and obviously speaking. Why did you decide to go back to Aveley?
I think because obviously at times quite stressful with obviously what was going on with football, and the Aveley fans were brilliant with me. Like, brilliant. They still message me now.
Of course.
Still follow my career. And it just made sense.
Yeah.
And, the way my agent just said to me, it's like, you're going to go there. You're going to be on all set pieces.
Yeah.
You're going to go there. You're going to be...
You're going to be in the shot window, right?
Yeah, you're going to play games. And he said, if you get 10 goals by Christmas, I'll get you back in National League. And that was the plan.
Yeah.
And I said, fine. I said, I'll go drop out of full-time football, go play part-time. Didn't bother getting a job or anything, but like at that point, my days off, I was going to the gym, making sure I was doing everything properly to get myself back into that thing. And then I think I ended up scoring 7 goals, and we was flying. We was flying. Aveley. It was top of the league. Like they've got back-to-back promotion. We was top of the league, doing really, really well. And then come to October, middle of October. And my agent said that Solihull were interested, and obviously looked at the league table. They were sitting in third, and I was buzzing. I was like, I made it. Then it kind of realised I made the right decision to come away and play. And I think Southend actually sorted their stuff out around November 18th time. Right. And I was sat there. I was like, if I would have stayed there and waited to play, in that time, I've gone to another club, played 18 games, got goals and assists and stats, and managed to get myself a move 100%. To the same league, to a team that's third. Before I'd if I would have stayed, I wouldn't even played a game. So it was nice, and it worked out that way.
I think it comes back to your prior point again, and something that I always bang the drum on this podcast and to any young kids that I speak to, like, just the advantage of playing games, right? Rather than, so I think a lot of kids these days get caught up in the pretense of being a professional footballer, but if you're not actually playing, like you're not doing anything with that. As you say, you've gone away, you've done really well, you put yourself in the shop window, you've got all eyes on you. And as I say, you could have been kicking your heels for 4 months doing nothing.
100%. Even there's boys in like this season in National League South that I played against where they've come on loan from Premier League Championship teams, or their pedigrees from like a Prem setup. They've dropped down to level to play games, and in the window they've gone signed for League 2, League 1 teams, and they found their level, and which is obviously everyone will find their level,
of course,
and that's the main thing. It's like doesn't matter where you're going to play games, doesn't matter who you play for, you're going to find your level no matter what. That's just what happens. And obviously, then you look at it, and you look at that Richard Kone, for example, good example. He was playing at Step 5, and now he's getting a £6 million bid from Luton. So, games is just the most important thing.
During this point, John, when you dropped out of Southend, and I want to speak about this anyway because I think it's a massive sort of plus for you. But is that when you started doing your degree?
I started doing my degree. So I finished it this summer, so it would have been 3 years ago from that summer, so it would have been 2021. I would
Right,
started
so you started it earlier.
Yeah,
So talk to me a
earlier.
little bit like that about like your sort of thinking behind that.
So
'Cause you don't really hear this much, or sort of this. I would say
it's not very common, is it? Yeah,
no, there's not many sense. I'm not saying there's not many sensible footballers, but as you said, I think you get sometimes to the end of your career and panic and try and do something where obviously you've done something beforehand. So yeah, just talk me through what you did.
So obviously, when I said to you about the America situation and that coming to a close, this person who obviously I was speaking to about going to America, Jon Benton, he messaged me and said, like, this opportunity's come up, would you do it? And it's basically a university degree that's for footballers to do online. You don't have to go into class or none of that. Everything's recorded, so if you want to watch back lessons, you can. And it just a bit of a no-brainer. And I'm glad I'd done it, because it was times where I was sitting there thinking, oh, this is long, I've got a few assignments due. And to be fair, I was a culprit of waiting until there was a week left of the deadline and smashing it all out at once.
I think that's a boy thing anyway, mate.
I think it is. I think it is. But it was long-winded, and to be fair, I'm glad I'd done it. And it was tough. It was tough. I wouldn't say it weren't, but it was obviously you come home from football and sometimes you just want to chill. And obviously I take it for granted now. I can come home and I can just relax. Obviously back then I'd have to do a few assignments and stuff. So
what did you do in John? What was the subject?
So it's called Applied Football Studies. It's a business degree. So it's done at the University of Southend.
Okay.
So it's just everything to do with football, business, everything in between.
So you saying Salford, is that the Salford University 92? It's not far from like Old Trafford Cricket Ground.
I've only been there once, and that was to get my degree.
Right.
And it was an early morning start, so we kind of got there, done it, and got home. So we didn't have a chance to look around.
But was it set up by that class of 92, the Salford owners?
I'm not sure.
Right.
I'm not sure, if I'm honest.
Okay.
I just know it's the University of Salford. Yeah. And it was set up. The actual I think it was actually set up by ex-pros,
right,
who wanted to make this a thing for people to do.
Sure.
And in my class, we had a few England women footballers in there. A few boys. One of my closest mates that I got from the course, he's a coach in Qatar. So it was like big, vast, like different people.
Yeah.
So it was a big mix, but it was good. It was good. Obviously, like me and him, we used to speak, and that if we had a problem with the assignment, we'd message each other.
And talk to me about like an assignment, John. What would be an assignment that you can remember?
So there's like, you'd have to do an essay, a presentation.
Yeah.
You'd have to do obviously longer pieces of work, shorter pieces of work, but in each module, I think there was 2 semesters a year.
Yeah.
3 subjects each one, which then you'd need to do 2 modules per thing. So every 6 weeks. So I think it worked out 12 a year, maybe 20. I think 24 over the 24, maybe 36 over the 3 years. I think it was.
Right.
But it would just be like, you'd be looking at like contemporary issues in sport. You'd be looking at like, for example, we've done a section on like talent ID and stuff. So you look at, say, you had to basically pick a job in like a football club.
Yeah.
And you had to pretend or like learn what it would be like to have that role and create an essay of how you would find talent in lower levels. And then you'd basically, another one would be like comparing, say, grassroots football to professional football, everything in between. So there's a lot of like research stuff, obviously being in an academy my whole life and being in grassroots football. Yeah. Having a taste of professional football, part-time and full-time, it was all pretty much my knowledge anyway. You can pretty much use your own knowledge, and obviously then you've got to use, bits from that online and stuff, like scholarly articles and stuff.
Sure.
So, it was good. It was good. I did enjoy it, but I was glad it was done.
Yeah, but as you say, fair play. You've done it. You've got another string to your bow. Like going back to everything you said, you've sort of put the work in to allow you maybe to benefit in the future from that. Like it might not be now. Was you one of them blokes that took your homework on the coach, or
what's that, sorry?
Was you one of them players that were taking their homework on the coach?
Nah. I was the one who got home and then was up until 3 o'clock in the morning doing it. I tried to do it on a coach, but my attention span, I couldn't do it.
No, there's a lot going on a coach these days. So the opportunity come up with Solihull. So talk me through that.
Yeah, so
who was the manager at the time when you got it?
What, at Solihull?
Yeah.
Andy Wing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
ex-Orient fullback.
Yeah, he was there, and the scout Joe was the one who was looking into me. Come to watch a few games at Averley.
Yeah. Did you know he was watching, John? Or?
Yeah. So to be fair, the way my agent works, it's like if there's sniffs, you won't know about it.
Yeah.
But unless there's something that's concrete, then he'll mention it. Otherwise, there's no point. So he knew. Obviously, he told me that he was coming to watch my game. Obviously, I said hello to him after, whatever.
Yeah.
And got the deal done. Obviously, my first thought was like, this is the first club that's kind of shown 100% interest. Obviously, I had a few sniffs from elsewhere. It's the first club that come in and said they wanted me. Do I hold off and wait out for someone else, or if there's something in league football, or do I just take this opportunity? And I weighed it up, and I was like, they're third in the league. I'd move away from home. I get to experience living by myself away from home. I thought, you know what, just take it, and just go enjoy living away and just experience that side of it as well. So, and I'm glad I did.
And just talking to like the living away aspect. So, didn't you all live in the same apartment block?
Yeah. So the way it works at Solihull, there was it's like a hotel. So it's like a restaurant hotel that the club own, and
like an apartment hotel or like a proper.
Yeah. So it's got about 12 hotel rooms, and then there's like a 3-bedroom flat.
Okay.
Connected onto it as well. So at the start, I was in the hotel room 3 nights a week. So I was travelling to and from probably twice a week, which was a bit of a long journey.
Yeah.
And then they got me moved into the flat probably a couple months in with a few of the boys. And loved it. Loved it. We had a good group in there, and you just start living with your mates. You literally
of course.
Living with them, playing football with them. It was good. I enjoyed it.
And how did you find them as a club? Because I'd say over the last 3 or 4 years they've made massive strides. Like they've improved the ground, they've improved the trade. Like did they have a tie-up from Tim Flowers' days? Was it with Blackburn or someone? Who did they have a tie-up with? Someone.
I'm not too sure.
Right.
I'm not too sure, but
there's money gone into that football club.
Oh
right?
100%. I mean the training facilities. Unreal. They got Astro pitch,
right,
and then they got 2 grass pitches, one for training, one for like say on a Friday session, which do your match prep on. So the setup was good, good gym, staff were brilliant. You know, got a chef there, so you had food every day. Setup was good. It was good. It was the perfect place for me to go, be full time away from family and not get bored. Yeah, you know what I mean. You're there, you can spend your time there. There's always something to do. Yeah.
Did you enjoy it? 'Cause it's a nice place in the Midlands.
Yeah. Solihull's a lovely area. Area. Where we lived was a place called Dorridge, which is like a little village, and we loved it. Loved it. It was good. It was good fun. The boys that I lived with were brilliant. One of them used to cook most days, to be fair to him, and then we'd wash up. So a little rota. But no, it was good. It was good fun. Yeah,
and talk to me about that first season. So 2 Wembley appearances, and obviously the league. So talk me through that season.
Well, that's the thing. If you would have told me at the start of the season when I weren't getting paid and I was doing that, by the end of it I'd be in a playoff final and an FA Trophy final, would never have believed you. So we had a good season. I think I played 27 appearances. For Solihull that season. Got to the trophy final first, and then obviously that was in like February time, and then obviously got to the playoff final, and it was unreal, mate. To be honest. Obviously,
so talk to me about playing at Wembley. Every kid's dream.
It is. Yeah. And to do it twice in a week is even better. Obviously results didn't go our way, but
so talk to me about the trophy. Trophy final first. So
the trophy. So we played the playoff final first, and the trophy was the week.
Sorry, that's it. Yeah, playoff final.
The playoff final.
Where did you come in the league in the end, John? I can't remember.
I think we finished 5th. Right. I think we finished 5th because there was a massive thing where Gateshead got knocked out of the playoffs.
They're a good footballing team as well.
Very good footballing team. They got knocked out of the playoffs. So then we first of all got a bye. Yeah. And then the league took that statement away, put a new one out saying that we're not getting a bye. And we were sitting in the flat going, what's going on? Not a bye, not even playing. Then we ended up having to play Halifax, then Barnet, and then obviously the final. Went into extra time, and then obviously penalties. And I remember sitting. Was in the thing. Was like, who wants a penalty? Yeah. And everyone was going around. They're like getting the first ones out of the way. And it's like number 5. It was the last pen. Yeah. And I was just like, I'll take it. Because in my head I was sitting there thinking, right, if I when am I ever going to get an opportunity to take a penalty at Wembley?
Yeah.
And two, if I score and win it for the Moors, then top's coming off in the crowd with all my mates. Like, you know. So it was a bit of just a quick judgment, just like, go on, just do it. Like, why not? Do you know what I mean? And then come round to it, wasn't necessarily the scenario I wanted, but if I missed, obviously, then probably would have won.
Yeah.
So I remember just picking up the ball and your knees start going weak. So I didn't want to start doing kick-ups. I've seen a few videos where it's like people doing kick-ups, they start tripping over the ball. So I just picked up the ball, longest walk to the penalty spot.
Heart pumping.
Heart's in my mouth.
Yeah.
Knees have gone weak. And then I remember I just stood with the ball over the penalty spot and the keeper was wasting time. He got a yellow card. Put the ball down, and as soon as I put the ball down... Did
he say anything to you, the keeper, or just wasted
because it was so loud, you couldn't hear him anyway.
Yeah.
I remember as I'm walking, looking behind the goal, I see all my boys with the cameras out. I'm thinking, no. This is not good. And then, put the ball... As soon as I put the ball down, it was like everything just went away. Yeah. Done my run up, the same thing I do. Took the pen, hit the inside of the post. Yeah. Gone opposite side netting. I was thinking, oh my god, it could not have been any closer.
Did you take pens, John, before? Like, I always knew you for a bit of a free kick specialist.
Yeah, I took more free kicks than pens. It was more necessarily the centre forward that took pens. And obviously because you're a young lad going into loan as well, it's almost
you're not having it.
Stay away from them. Yeah, you can take corners.
Yeah.
I took that, and then. Obviously then they scored the next penalty. Yeah. They won it. Obviously that was gut-wrenching. Obviously, bad. Yeah. Bad feeling. Wasn't nice. But then we had to try and pick ourselves up again to go the next week.
How was that? So, like, as you say, it's bad enough, I suppose, having disappointment. Say you got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs or whatever. Yeah. There's disappointment in that enough, but like, one, it's Wembley, and two, it was just such a, as you say, a quick turnaround. Like, talk to me. What was you doing in that week? So you had it was Saturday to Saturday. Was it Sunday? Yeah. What did you do in that week off?
Saturday to Saturday. So I think we had the Monday off. Monday off, and then we was going to be in Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I believe. And
was everyone back to Solihull after, or everyone went their separate ways?
Everyone come back. I think everyone come back. Actually, no, I might have gone. I can't remember. I feel like we would have gone back. And I remember on the Tuesday, Gaffer was like, "We're not training today. We're going to go to a local restaurant that they've just like kind of no one was in there. Yeah. And it was sunny day, and we kind of just sat outside and just all of us had some food and chat for hours." And just instead of training,
say you had loads of beers then.
We sat there and we I think that was probably needed instead of going in there and doing like a training session.
That's probably the last thing you needed, right?
No, exactly. So we went there and we had just like as a group, and then obviously went back to the flat and we was obviously just trying to make the best night because we knew we was trying to pick ourselves up to go again. Yeah. And then obviously we done our thing during the week and then come to the trophy final and we.
Did you travel down? So playoff and trophy final. Was you staying over on the Friday night?
We stayed over.
Yeah, you stayed over.
Well, on the trophy final, I didn't stay over because I had my brother's charity game.
Yeah.
So, he was there. He played in it, didn't he? Yeah. And I asked the gaffer if I could stay down because I didn't want to miss it. I stayed down at home, so I drove down on the Friday. Yeah. Done that, and then met the boys on the Saturday at the hotel. So they did stay over. Or did they drive down? No, they would have stayed over. But then obviously I just said, I'll go home, and then obviously we're using the day after. And then obviously we played that game. We should have won in the game. Obviously it comes to penalties again, and we lost again, which obviously was tough. But I feel like in that moment you're either going to win both or lose both. It's quite hard to because it's such a big loss. Yeah. To then try and get yourselves up to go again. Yeah. When Gateshead got knocked out of the playoffs, they've got a point to prove. Yeah. They've had 2 weeks off, so they're fresh. Yeah. And
not only have you had 2 big games in a week, but like both extra time and pens. That's a big ask, right?
It is a big ask, and
mentally and physically.
Not many teams will be in that scenario to play on a 2 finals in that that space of time. So, but like I said, Gateshead obviously they weren't in the playoffs, and obviously they must have been fuming about that. Yeah. and they kind of had a point to prove sort of thing. So obviously we was meant to play them, and then obviously we got to the playoff finals, and they're thinking that could have been them.
That could have been us,
And obviously then we lost, and they're sort of thinking like, well, we could have gone up, whatever. So they kind of had a point to prove. And then we had, obviously, we had the game, but that pitch is massive. Suited Gateshead, it's Suited Gateshead. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough to take. 'Cause it's like, you're either winning both, like in a dream world, you win both. Go have the best summer of your life. You're in League Two. You just won the trophy final as well, and especially after the year that I'd had in terms of, say, brother being at the start of the year with not having a club, it would have been some turnaround. Do you know what I mean? So it was tough to take, but obviously at the same time I was grateful that I got the opportunity to go do that. And you never know when you're ever going to play at Wembley again, or if you ever will. Some players don't. So,
and how do you look at that, John? Obviously, I've never played at Wembley, right? And most people would say it's their dream to play at Wembley, right? Is some of that tempered a little bit by the fact that you lose, or do you get over the losing short term, and then like now, for instance, I'm sure you've got your shirt and a loser's medal, whatever you've got. I'm sure. Do you now look back and think, "Well, I've played at Wembley"? Not many people say, or is that still?
You're still gutted. It's still one of those things because you kind of feel like, what could it have been?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? And it's like you look back, and because you're so close, to it have been like the best day, you've ever had,
of course,
compared to being the biggest upset. You kind of wish. When you lose, you kind of wish you didn't play at Wembley. You kind of wish it was kind of at their stage.
You knocked out in the semi or something. And it's already on holiday.
It's such a tough thing to take. And then you look back and you look at the opportunity you had of playing at Wembley, just that statement in itself. Obviously, you take it, and it's obviously not a great experience. To be in that changing room, the facilities, the pitch.
Yeah.
You got. I mean, I had like 100 plus people there watching.
Yeah.
From
the coach,
family and friends.
Yeah.
Family organised the coach, so. Obviously, just not to get across the line was a killer, but the experience in itself was amazing. Yeah.
Is that something that eats away at you all summer, John, or was it something like?
It does a little bit because then it kind of changes the whole summer, the whole thing. I mean, there was talks of us going to Vegas if we won and stuff, and obviously you'd rather not go to Vegas and win it if that's the. Do you know what I mean? It's just obviously that's the plus side of it, and the whole summer you're coming back to the National League when you could have been where you could have been. Do you know what I mean?
Was the club, would you say, ready for that, John? Would you say, obviously everything's ifs and buts, but like if you had won the playoff final, would you say like they're a club now? Because obviously over the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years, we had our spell in it, Orient, but then Salford, Stockport, Chesterfield, some big clubs come out of that, right? Yeah. And no disrespect to Solihull, I wouldn't put Solihull maybe in that bracket.
No,
but they're a club that's made massive strides. So going up, I'm more talking like infrastructure and everything else as club, not the players and that. Were they ready for that?
I mean, I don't know if they had any plans to renovate or add stuff on.
They've done a new stand this year.
They have got a new.
I noticed that the other day.
The main stand that they've got with like all the what's the word? When people come in have the pre-match food and stuff like that.
Like corporate hospitality.
Hospitality. That's the word. That stuff's amazing, man. Amazing, really nice. My mum and dad, they done it a few times and they said they loved it. The setup there is really, really good. Obviously, the only thing is you look at say the number of fans that they bring in compared to. It's a new club though. It is a new club, and it's obviously not had that. And a lot of teams around that. Obviously, you've got Villa, Birmingham, and there's big football clubs around that area.
Yeah.
So it was tough, but obviously the players that they had there, obviously players got moves to the league and stuff. So the players were ready to do it, and the way the football was playing last year. I mean, obviously we beat Barnet 4-0 in the semi-final.
Great win.
Great win. It was a great win, and it would have been a challenge. Don't get me wrong, but it would have been a good challenge that we would have. I'd like
give
to.
It would
have been a good one to take, and obviously I feel like their recruitment has always been good, and I feel like it would have been. Obviously, I don't know how much or what you get for getting into that League Two, but obviously I know sponsorships or whatever.
Everything, off the pitch
that comes with it, obviously would have benefited them as well. So I think they would have been ready. They would have been ready. It would obviously took some work, but obviously, you never know if you're ready until you do it. Do you know what I mean? Cool. So, it would have been look at Bromley. Obviously,
I think as a club, Bromley, same thing, right? They're making strides off the pitch, and they're doing okay, right?
They're doing
as you say, first year League Two, just want to survive, right?
And just the pool that I feel like as well as football's developing, every league as they go on, the pool of players they're able to pull in, it's just getting better and better each year. I mean, you 100%. look at the amount of league players that are in National League that should be playing in the league, and look at the League Two players that the top clubs have got there should be playing high. Do you know what I mean?
I agree.
The leagues are getting better and better each year. I mean, look at some of the signings that Bromley are making in League Two this year. Sure. It's.
What do you put that down to, John? Because I agree with you, but what I originally thought, like years ago when that happened, you see everyone filters down a level.
Yeah.
Like it was obviously like the foreign influence in the Premier League. Like what's your take on why that's happening?
I don't know. I feel like obviously teams are getting better.
Yeah.
Teams are getting better, and you look at the players.
Better coaching or better players?
I just think everything. I feel like like I said to you, it's harder, especially with youth as well. I look at it's harder. It's getting harder and harder to make it. And obviously, with the players that are like you said, there's a lot of influx of players coming in from abroad as well. Because the scouting abroad as well is getting better and better, and the talent and quality that's coming across into say the higher leagues. Then obviously everyone funnels down and looking for clubs and stuff, and you're getting like ex-Premier League players signing in League Two, which would have been unheard of 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? So I definitely think the leagues are getting stronger. They are, and it's hard to say, but it's like what would the standard of say League Two now? Where would that have been say matched to say League Two say 15 years ago, 10, 15 years ago? You don't know. But I do think the leagues are getting stronger and teams are getting stronger, and obviously budgets are getting bigger as well. A lot more owners are putting more money in as well, especially it's more prominent say lower leagues as well, when you've got say teams that are say part-time and full-time, and the players that they can pull in compared to say others, it's miles apart. And obviously as you get into say league football, then it does change a little bit, because obviously their budgets aren't necessarily too dissimilar, but obviously the teams that are with the bigger budgets, the players that they can bring in, especially in the lower leagues, I think it's crazy.
It's a good point you just made, John, and obviously a lot of, I don't know, there's 4 or 5 clubs now, we'll get onto that, in say Conference South are full-time. Obviously I'd say all bar 1 or 2 in the National League are full-time, but how do you weigh up that argument now of being around players? Are there people now, say Conference South, that are earning X amount through work, X amount through football, and they'll just happily stay at that level?
100%. Yeah, 100%. I feel like, especially...
Let's just say you got 500 quid, for instance, and you got 500 quid for football.
Yeah.
£1,000 a week, right?
Yeah.
You might go to a League Two club, let's use Accrington as an example, and they might offer you 500 quid a week. Yeah. Like there's plenty of boys that are going to stay at playing Conference South.
100%. 100%.
Yeah.
And I think as well, you got to weigh it up. I think like if you're a young lad, you take every opportunity you can to go play at the highest level, and you do it. But then it gets to a certain point when I think responsibilities change, whether or not you've got kids, mortgage, and stuff like that, and you've got to kind of look more for stability. Where then it's if you've got 500 from your job, 500 from football, compared to say a full-time opportunity earning 750, people are still going to choose that, because football's a short career as well, and it's like you got to weigh it up to the point where, say if that person leaves their job to go play full-time football, he might not get that back in a couple of years. Say if that contract's only 18 months and then he loses out on that job, and then he's got to find something else, and he's then scrambling, he misses a few, whatever, you just don't know what can happen in the world of football or whatever. So 100%. People will look into the future and be like, if they've got that job where they're working at for 10 years before their football career ends, they can then take that into the, once football career ends, into their main career. Exactly. So it just depends on, the players' responsibilities, I think.
Yeah, and I totally agree. So after that summer, John, obviously you had the disappointment of the the 2 losses at Wembley, then talk to me about how you found yourself like out of the football club. I'd say. So you originally went on loan, right? So how did that come about?
To Maidstone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
because like the games that I watched for Solihull, I always felt like whether you started or you come off the bench, like you contributed in games.
Yeah. No, it was obviously. Yeah, I think at the end of the season, got a call during the summer. They said they're potentially looking at me moving closer to home with obviously like the personal things I was going through that year, and they thought that maybe a loan back home might have suited me for a bit to go.
Did you expect that, John?
I did and I didn't.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think that in their mind they probably wanted me to go home until Christmas, be with my family, play games close to home, and then wait up and then come back in the thing or whatever.
Yeah.
So when that come about, towards the end of pre-season, and they brought it up again, and they said about doing it. Obviously, I had the choice of it to stay there and play and try and like get games or whatever, or go play football. And obviously, at that time, I didn't want to, from what I was hit, like from the way they were talking, I was like, don't think I'm going to get a sniff here. So maybe the best opportunity is, and I don't want to be in and around the team when
you're not playing.
Yeah, I'd rather go play somewhere where
I agree.
where you're wanted.
Yeah.
And obviously Craig Fagan I knew at Maidstone from my Southend days, and he'd run me a couple of times, and he was really, really trying to get me in. And when you got someone like Craig and a club like Maidstone where they're really wanting you to come in and play, it's kind of hard to turn down.
Yeah.
And even though it's the league below, I was sitting there thinking like maybe it is going to be a risk because you drop down the league. So you got to perform, you got to do well, and I was just like, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to go for it. Made a decision to go for it.
Was that a gut instinct?
Yeah, it was. And I remember I was speaking to obviously I was in Solihull. I was on the phone to my family and my agent, and I was just like, maybe I should just go for it. And
what are they saying at that point, John?
So mixture of both.
Obviously, your agent would probably want you to stay at a high level.
He does, yeah.
And your family's probably saying to you, do what makes you happy, right?
He did, yeah, exactly. That was literally a scenario. Obviously, my family was saying, obviously, you got to make. My dad was a little bit skeptical. He was like, maybe you should stay at a higher level. You don't want to come down again because if you come down and don't perform, then you're kind of stuck a little bit.
Yeah.
Obviously, because I've done so well the year before at Averley. I made the decision myself to go. And then as soon as I made that decision, Craig phoned me again. Was buzzing, and I kind of feel like I'd made the right decision.
Yeah.
Went there. We had a bit of a shaky start.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh no, what have I done?
Yeah.
And then obviously we picked it up. Started doing really, really well. Loved it there. No, good club. I mean, George and Craig, brilliant. They were brilliant with me. Obviously got really, really good fan setup there as well. Really, really good fan setup. And I loved it there. It was good. And then obviously, fast forward, got a call from my agent, and he just said like, Bourne would have come in. And
where did that come from? Do you think, John? Just for seeing how well you were doing it?
Yeah, because obviously Luke Garrard, the gaffer at Bournemouth, he obviously went back to Bournemouth, and he basically phoned my agent and just said that loves the way I play, loves the intensity, all that stuff, and just said that he wants to go get promoted this year. He wants me to come in and play. So obviously then I weighed it up with my agent, went back to Solihull. Solihull didn't really want to let me go that early. And then it got to the point where with my contract, my money went up in the option and obviously the conversation we had with Solihull, we knew they weren't going to take up my option. Yeah. We knew that's what we.
So what did you have? 2 years with a year option?
It was 18 months,
right,
18 months and an option. So we weighed it up, and I was just like, I made a decision to go to Maidstone because I wanted to go somewhere where I wanted to play, like they wanted me to play.
Yeah.
And obviously then I've got this opportunity to go to Bournemouth where they want me to go in and play and get promoted to go back to National League. I was like, I'm going to take it. Like, I'm not going to.
At that point, John, did then Maidstone think there was an opportunity maybe to get you as well full time?
They did. And it happened so quickly. This is the thing. Like, I think it was on the Monday that had the phone call, and then by like Thursday I was signing. I think it was that quick, and it was like had a few conversations with Maidstone, but I kind of just said like, look, speak to my agent. My agent would do all of the stuff. Yeah. Like I'm just because I still had to play games. I was still playing games for Maidstone at that time. So I was just like, speak with him and get them to deal with it, whatever. And then obviously they're sending across the whatever, all the stuff, and obviously then went with Boreham Wood. Obviously that was full time as well. Then Maidstone's like a hybrid. It's like 3 days a week.
Right.
And obviously Boreham Wood were full time. They'd just come back down from National League and they wanted to go straight back up. So I just thought it was the right decision to do it at the time. Yeah. And I'm glad I did. Like I'm enjoying it there. It's a great club. We're doing really well at the minute. In around the top of the league. We've got a few games in hand. So we're in a good place. And hopefully, we will go get promoted.
So like, how old are you now, John? 23?
23, yeah.
What are like, for someone that's probably seen a lot of things, football, good and bad, like what's your plans over the next, like where do you see yourself? Do you still have aspirations to get back in the league?
100%. My goal is to play at the highest level I can.
Yeah.
And just enjoy playing football.
Yeah.
It's quite, you kind of got to take it season by season or game by game, really. You just got to make sure that you're getting stats and enjoying football, playing well, and just let it take you. If you're obsessed with the other side of it, well, this is the way I think. If you're obsessed with getting somewhere, it can sometimes put too much pressure on yourself. You just got to enjoy where you are, and I feel like if you enjoy doing something, you're going to perform better anyway. So I just feel like that part of the game is important, and just like I said, just to play at the highest level I can, and have a good career.
Are you someone that's obviously, not a silly kid? You've done your degree and like, what are you putting anything else in place off the pitch? Like, do you do anything else for planning for other stuff, or right now you just concentrating again on football?
Yeah, obviously where I've just finished my degree, I can't just take a break from it. Obviously with the degree, obviously I can go do a master's in that. I think I've got 10 years to do that, so at some point I can go do that. But at the minute I was just like now that's done, just concentrate on football and just relax a little bit, because now it's nice to just come home and chill. So nothing at the minute.
So full time, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays off, Thursday, Friday.
Yep.
And you train at the ground.
Yeah.
So like, what's a normal training day? What time do you have to be in there?
So in for 8:30. So the M25 at the minute is awful. So I'm up early, R5. A few of the boys we meet, car school. Yeah. In for 8:30, breakfast, meeting, and then the session, and then gym, all that stuff. You get everything there. It's got a brand new gym put in there as well, which is nice. But sessions are good. So,
lovely pitch there.
Yeah. The ground's lovely.
Yeah. How do you feel training on? Because the pitch is so nice. Obviously, a long-standing sort of association with Arsenal. How do you feel training every day on Astro and then the grass?
I'm used to it, to be fair. Yeah, obviously we've grown up at Southend. We used to train at Chase, didn't we? 2 times a week on Astro and games on. So it's something I'm used to anyway. And obviously Averley was AstroTurf. Yeah. So I think it's obviously with you can train it all year round as well, can't you?
Course,
there's no issues. No, there's no frozen pitches.
No. So aspirations for the club then, got to get it back. Obviously, there's a lot of. I looked at the table actually when you won on Monday. Like there's probably every club right in the playoffs is about the same sort of points. Right? It's really tight. And
five teams. I think 5 teams that were all on. That was all on 55 points.
Maidstone, Worthing,
Torquay. Yeah, that's right. And Eastbourne, I think, are in around it as well. So there's a lot of teams that are in that bracket.
Yeah.
And I think when I come into the club,
when we played them at Orient, they weren't struggling, but they had a lot of games in that. They were lower than that, I think.
11th maybe.
When I went there this season.
And then I come in and I think we was unbeaten in 12, I think it was, and then we had a bit of a blip, but we'd got ourselves right back in the mix, which is what we wanted. And obviously now we've got about 16 games to play, 17 games to play, right? And we're in a really good position. And it's just taking it game by game. You can't really get fixated on everyone else, because it's like as soon as you do, you feel like the way you play kind of goes out the window a little bit, and you're too worried about everyone else. So you just got a team that's able to stay concentrated on their plan and their goal in the league without getting fixated on everyone else is the one that will go win it.
as a club, do you look at it in blocks or you just look in game to game?
It's just game to game, really. Yeah. It's, if we've got a game week where we're playing Saturday, Tuesday, Saturday, we'll look at it as like 9 points. We have to get 9 points from this week. That big 7 days. Yeah. But then, we don't really look too much further than that. It's take it game by game and just making sure that it's a 3 point day.
So who got Saturday, mate?
We've got Weston-super-Mare.
Yeah, away or
it's at home.
So when will you start looking at them? Thursday, Friday?
Yeah, Thursday.
Tomorrow,
Thursday. We'll do a bit on Thursday.
Yeah.
We'll be watching their clips. And then Friday we'll be about set pieces and stuff. So it's not all information on one day. It's split over the 2 days, and then the Monday and the Tuesday will all be either recovery if you've got it's match prep, it's a game on Tuesday, or if it's not a game on Tuesday, it'll be like recovery on Monday, and then Tuesday will just be like a normal session. Bit of fun.
So I really appreciate your time, John. Just like as we wrap up, like I think there's one overriding, I would say, bit of advice that's come through constantly, but like kids that have gone through the academy system like yourself, and then at times come out of it and found yourself, in sticky situations. What would you say to any kid out there that just wants to follow their dream?
I think you've got to be sacrifices are the main thing. Yeah. And if you really want something, then you'll go get it. It's like, if you're, I feel like when you look at someone, you can kind of tell if they want it or not. And it's like you look at a lot of people nowadays who are in that scenario and have a good opportunity and they're just wasting it. Yeah. And they won't realise how lucky they are that they've got that opportunity until it's gone. And obviously all my mates, they work in the city and they're doing all these jobs, and I'm privileged and lucky. Because they say to me like, that,
do you still look at it that way, John?
Well, this is what I was about to say. I feel like they go to me, "Oh, you're so lucky to be doing this." A lot of people say like, "You're so lucky to be playing football and that," and I'm just like, but then you don't know how hard I've worked and the sacrifice that I've made, and I've literally built this based off a dream. Yeah. So it's like
Usain Bolt, isn't it? People say I'm so lucky, like, but I've trained for 4 years to run 10 seconds.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like, well, I remember I didn't go to a party until I was like 17, 18 and didn't have my first alcoholic drink until I was 18. My dad had a little deal with like my car and that. He's like, he should buy my first car if I didn't drink before 18. I was like, sweet, happy days. This is not a problem with me. But like little things like that, I feel like, you've got to be very fixated on doing it. And, if it's something that if you don't want to do it, then, you just go and take it.
Do you look back on that now, though, still saying, that's the right decision?
Yeah, I'm glad I did. Because like I said, if I didn't have my dad pushing me the way he did, and he was hard on me, then I don't know how well it would have been. But then if I didn't take it as serious as I did when I was that age, then the same thing. You just don't know where.
You can't get that time back, right?
You can't. And like, what else was I going to do it? Going out and like, whatever, drinking, all that stuff. It was just at that point, I was glad that I took that time to better myself, to get myself in a good opportunity to play football than anything else. So.
Brilliant, mate. As I say, local kid that's, played for their local team. Not many people could say that. He played at Wembley twice. So, last couple, favourite memory in football so far?
Favourite memory? I want to say scoring a pen at Wembley.
Yeah?
Yeah. I remember, my dad and mum got them like tickets right near the bench. Yeah. I remember Dad, after obviously speaking, my dad was like, couldn't watch the penalty. And then mum was like, when are you ever going to see him take a penalty at Wembley ever again? Like, you have to watch. Yeah. And obviously then scoring it, that relief, thinking, thank God for that. So,
amazing, mate. And biggest disappointment, would you say?
The geezer scoring a penalty after me.
I suppose. Who's the best player you played against?
Best player I played against? I want to say biggest shock that I had, I thought, Jesus, was Billy Gilmore when he was at Chelsea. Right. Yeah. This must have been youth team, though.
Yeah.
Youth team days.
He was only a little boy as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, he just signed from Rangers. Yeah. And you're playing against, obviously, when you play against Chelsea, you got like all the players that their squad costs loads. But I remember playing against him and I was thinking, if I just hang up my boots now. Yeah. So he was a good player.
And who would you say your best player with at any of the clubs you played at?
Best player I played with, it's tough to say. Obviously, if you look at when you're younger, obviously players go on high. Obviously, like Kelman, best mate, obviously he's gone gone and played for QPR and all that. You've got Drew Yearwood that's gone and played in MLS and stuff. So yeah, I'll probably have to say, and obviously, for example, even like Nathan Bishop, like getting the move from Southend to Man United is crazy. Obviously, at the time they weren't the players they are, but obviously you look at their careers that especially them three that have gone out. You know, you look at it and you say fair play. So yeah, I'd probably say those maybe.
And if you could change one thing about football, John, what would you change?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Could be on. What's that?
Penalty shootouts.
Yeah, it could be on or off the pitch.
I would probably change the ages of. I think football is. I feel like the clubs now are scouting too early.
Yeah.
You know, like the ages I'm seeing, like I'll be on my phone, I'll be seeing like, kid 4 years old, 5 years old, getting scouted by Chelsea, and I just think it's like, I think it's wrong because I just remember being 8 years old and my dad having to tell me in the back of the car that they've released me or whatever, and being heartbroken at like 8 years old, like crying my eyes out, and I just think like people are getting that younger and younger, and I just think that I feel like it should be more of a fun activity, something that you enjoy, than constantly having to turn up, and if you don't perform, then you're gone. Especially at that age, it's quite tough because you don't understand it fully. You don't understand it fully, so I'll probably say that. Yeah,
I think there's a lot to be said for that. Like, as I say, I went into academy when I was 10, but all the way through until you turn 16, right? All the way through, I play for a grassroots team as well. And you play for your district, you play for your county, whatever it is. Like,
I never got that. I never played with my mates ever.
That's what I'm saying.
Never got to play with my mates.
And obviously there was times when they moved me on, so you can't play that team anymore. It's 2 years. You've got to go wherever. But like, I do feel now, and like the points you've made, even with my son, like telling my son like he'd been released by like, it was probably one of the worst things I've ever had to do. And it probably will be one of the worst things I had to do. And I think there's a lot of countries in Europe now that are scraping it back to like 13, 14, 15. You can play with your mates, and then we'll take you there. And so that's a great point. John, actually, we've been sat here for an hour and a half. I really appreciate your time. I've loved listening to your career. As I say, since moving this way, you're always someone that I'm going to go and watch and follow. And I wish you all the best. And just keep playing and enjoying it, mate. I think you've got one of the best mentalities that you could have about just living for the now and enjoying it. And hopefully there's more left in your story, mate.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, mate.